This is the London is Blue podcast. All things Chelsea, keeping you up to date on the latest news from Stamford Bridge. It's the London is Blue podcast. Here's your hosts, Brandon, Dan, and Nick.
All right, Chelsea fans. Well, in case you didn't notice, we have a very special podcast planned for our trip to London. So it's a little bit different, but obviously we had the opportunity to hang out with the Chelsea Fancast group. We wanted to take an opportunity to ask them some questions on this.
All right. Warm it up. Here. Just gonna have a little. Yeah. Why don't we do a little of that?
This is how we kick off
Cheers.
every live pod. My name is Brandon, and I would be what you call a host of the podcast.
I am Dan, and I would probably say that on the color commentary.
I'm Nick. I occasionally say things in a loud, angry manner.
So the podcast began when Brandon decided to send out a message on Twitter tagging Chelsea in America, which is the official supporters group of Chelsea in the United States, asking if anyone wanted to do a podcast about the club. And lo and behold, two individuals decided to respond, only two.
Yep.
And at that point, we were the cast.
The unique part about our show is that we are all at three different locations. So Brandon is in Minneapolis, Dan is in Tampa,
Which is Florida, for those who don't know.
Florida, yeah, and I am in Kansas City.
All right, well, welcome back, listeners, and not just online listeners, thankfully, but we have a live audience hanging out at the Atlas. Obviously very excited for this. If you haven't been aware, we are doing a live podcast in London with our great friends, the Chelsea Fancast. So Chidge and the team, welcome.
Lovely. Always a pleasure to be here with you boys, to see you over here again. And apart from me...
It's unique because we record via Skype every week, but we didn't actually meet in person until the start of our third season doing the show. So it was almost like we were blind dating for a couple of years, and then my beautiful brides-to-be were...
Your Canadian girlfriends?
Yeah, Canadian girlfriends were wonderful, and that was when we went up to Minneapolis, so Brandon's hometown, to cover Chelsea during the preseason in 2016. We got to meet Antonio Conte and watch the players train. It was incredible.
So with that being said, we since we have some season ticket holders here and some well-versed fans, being there, let's go ahead and jump into Chelsea versus the Spurs memories. Sunday's match at the Bridge. It's a big one, obviously in the top four battle, but there's a lot more context, I think, history to it.
For me, the first one that stands out was Hoddle left to become the England manager, but he'd brought in Ruud Gullit. The first game that he actually started that season was against Tottenham, and this was 3 days after Matthew Harding sadly lost his life. That game was this was before the minute's applause. There was actually a minute's silence, and thinking back to it now, I haven't got any hairs on the back of my neck anymore, but they really did stand on end, and it was a wonderful occasion because everybody just recognised Matthew as a footballing guy. The minute's silence was perfectly observed, and then and Chelsea won 3-1. Ruud scored the opening goal. I think David Lee scored.
But I think Brandon does a really good job of executing after we record everything. Brandon has to go and cut and make sure that we are in line, that we have a really tight show, and I think he does a really good job of being timely so that when people wake up the morning or two after a match, they have something to listen to in the stream right away.
Yeah.
To me, we are now to the point where thankfully we have a very loyal audience of listeners, which is amazing.
Cheers to you guys.
And, we'll get tweets. Like if the podcast isn't there on a Monday morning, like they wonder what happened to me. Like why isn't this there?
Our wives and girlfriends and friends don't want to hear us talk about Chelsea for 4 to 5 hours after a match. So we had to find people that wanted to do that with us, and thankfully we found one another.
Yeah, I would conclude this point by saying that being in the United States, we do have a unique kind of worldview on the club, and the way that we take in the matches is a little bit different because it's so early in the morning. So it provides us a little bit of time and perspective when we do have the chance to come over here to take it in a little bit differently. It's very special. So the passion kind of, I think, emanates from that.
You guys, none of you live anywhere near each other. You go to a pub, you have to go home, or actually quite invariably the experience from what I'm told about American friends is, watch it at home. Why are you going to go and drive 15 miles to a pub? Yeah? Why would you do that?
5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it's a big ask. So they quite often watch at home. So we have each other. We are around people who love us and understand, and it's a really important thing. If you lose, and it's shit, believe you me, it's painful, but you've got people around you, and, after a few hours, it's okay. And I think that's essentially one of the main differences that we perhaps have with you guys.
So being in London, you get to feel the presence of the team as well. When I first came and we were, driving up the road, and then all of a sudden the stadium appears. It is buried in the middle of a neighborhood. And that's not something we have in the United States. Most of the time stadiums are, off on their own with a lot of space around them. The fact that this stadium is very much a part of the neighborhood, and so you can see it everywhere, along the streets. And when you get in here, it's just, to me, it's a much more sense of a community and a family because of that. And that's something that I think is really unique and fun for us as Americans supporting Chelsea.
Yeah, I think if you haven't been before and then you walk up to the stadium, it does kind of give you goosebumps a little bit, which is pretty important for me because we're all sports nuts. So there are people who would feel this way about the Louvre, I'm sure, another art exhibit or whatever you're passionate about, a concert venue. This is what, we spend hours of our week doing. And so to be here and to feel the energy and excitement is something so special. It's also amazing to go get a coffee and walk along the shed wall and just feel like you're a part of it for a little bit.
No, it's true. I mean, obviously, first of all, a massive thank you to everyone that's here just to hang out with us, whether or not, just because we have the microphones, it doesn't make it more important, and definitely doesn't make it any easier. So we are really thrilled whether or not you came with us, you came on your own, you're from here. It's amazing to have a community like this to come to. Obviously, our friends from the Chelsea Fancast, we've gotten to know the four of you really well in a very short time since we started coming in the last 12 months, and it's been fantastic. When it comes to why we continue to come back, I think it comes down to we value experiences, and as fans, we need to have the opportunity to reward ourselves about waking up anywhere between 4 and 6 a.m. to watch the team we love, for day drinking and potentially having a bad weekend because they had a bad result, and we go through so much and we kind of put so much into it that the opportunity and experience to actually come and hear the liquidator and listen to the announcer call out the players by name and nickname on the field, and the 40-some thousand fans in the stadium. They're the first match you went to, it went by so fast. I couldn't believe it was already over because there was so much to take in and catch up on that it was an amazing experience. And like we said, the people that we get to meet up with, not just the match, but then outside of that, connecting with friends from Twitter, friends from Facebook, Stanford Chidge and the Fancast and our journalists and guests. like there's just so much we get packed into these things. It really is about as comprehensive as we can make it.
When you come to London with us, we want to show you kind of the best possible time that we can. And so that would be like a live podcast, like that's not something that you would typically do if you were just coming on your own, or being able to go to the Cock and Tavern before we go to the match and experience that with kind of all the friends. You could do that, but we'd like to think that we're pretty good company.
I'd just like to say how completely brilliant what you do is completely wonderful. And the whole aspect of supporters from around the world being able to link via the fancast, via yourselves, and particularly the connection with America. And but as I say, everywhere, Australia, New Zealand, all the supporters clubs that we're ultimately communicating with and getting to know is quite joyous.
London
is blue.